Steven here for Off the Shelf Movie Night, coming at you from a little bit of a different location today because I had foot surgery last week and I've kind of been laid up. I'll drop a picture right here of the bandaged foot so you can see it. So I'm kind of having trouble getting up the steps into the theater room where I normally do my show, and I've got Blu-rays coming, some 4Ks and steelbooks and that kind of thing that I want to talk about. But I thought I would do an update for you now and just kind of talk about my top 10 films of 2019 because we haven't done that. And a lot of these films are out to buy now. Some are not quite here yet. I'll be looking for all of them. I will own all of them on physical media, whatever format they happen to come, because they were all phenomenal. The top, I don't know, the top five, the 10 through 5 could be in any order, to be honest with you. They're all really good. And then 5 from 1 could be in any order of those 5 because they're all phenomenal also. In comparison to other lists, mine might be a little bit weird as far as the number 1. I haven't seen it on as many lists as I thought I would, but let's go through them. Let me just look at my phone here, and I'll tell you. Okay, so number 10 was Midsommar. This is a love it or hate it kind of thing. This director, Ari Aster, that is sort of his method. His films, I think you either really like them or you really don't. Hereditary was a film that I thought was okay at first, and then on the second viewing, I found it to be a slog. I didn't care for the film. So I went into this one hoping for the best, and I got the best. This thing is scary in one of the most unique ways I've seen in the last, 20 years. This is not a horror film that's, shot at night and covered in shadow. It is bright. In fact, it continues to get brighter as it progresses. It's a very different kind of film. So it is a slow burn, so it's not going to be a jump scare every 8 minutes. That's sort of the typical. But if you like experimental films and you want to have a real different experience, then I highly recommend Midsommar. That is my number 10 film. All right, so number 9 was a latecomer to the party. I thought I was done with my top 10, to be honest with you, and then Uncut Gems hit theaters. Now, I'd heard all of this stuff about Adam Sandler's performance, and I have thought for years that Sandler should do something dramatic, something real, because I felt like he had the chops. PunchDrunk Love is my favorite romantic comedy, and that is a Sandler film. If you haven't seen it, you should. So this one came out, and I just had to go see it right during the Christmas holiday. It bumped my list all over the place because after coming out of it, I had to add this to my list. This is probably, I don't know, it's got to be in the top 2 or 3 most intense films I've seen this year. This thing, if you have anxiety issues, you may, need to take a pill before you go into it, have a cocktail, because the way it uses sound, and dialogue, and sometimes even camera movement to build the anxiety, to up the suspense level, is very cool, very unique. It's very cheap to do. This is not a high-budgeted film at all, but it's so effective. I was annoyed by it in the first scene, but by the end of the movie, I was relishing it. I was reveling in it because it was so intense. Adam Sandler's best performance of his career, for sure. Okay, number 8 is a film, again, I didn't expect to be as good as it was, and that's Ready or Not. Ready or Not, it felt like, another safe little Fox, Disney, scary PG film, whatever. First of all, it wasn't. It is scary. It has great scary moments in it, but it's also funny. It has a lot of things to say in the social commentary of it, and it plays on some tropes of traditional horror films. It uses our expectations of those films to bring something new to the table. The acting is phenomenal. This is a great little film, and again, it does feel like a little film. It doesn't feel like a high-budgeted film. That last moment of this film was probably my 3rd or 4th favorite ending of a film this year. Very fun, scary, beautifully shot and edited. Highly recommend this film. That's number 8. Number 7 is Apollo 11. Now, you may or may not have seen this film. If you're into documentary, you might have seen it. If you're not into documentary, or you are and didn't get a chance to, you've got to see this film. Apollo 11 is a very unique documentary film in that it doesn't have sit-down interviews and talking heads and a bunch of on-screen text to describe the events transpiring on screen and that kind of thing. It's like a fly on the wall, just showing you the events of Apollo 11. The filmmaker got hold of all of this beautiful 65 millimeter footage that has never been used or released before, and there's some shots of Apollo 11 that should just be national treasures in this film. I can't describe to you the uniqueness of it. There was a film made many years ago called Store that was basically just a fly on the wall. Someone set a camera up, the filmmaker set a camera up and just recorded a store getting ready for the Christmas holiday. That's this. You see some shots of people watching the Apollo 11 take off, and it's not costumes. This is not actors dressed up to look like the era. These are people that were living and breathing and enjoying a spectacular moment in time, and you get to share it with them. It's a beautiful film. You really should have seen it in the theater because there wasn't an experience like it this year, but you can see it. It's on DVD, or it's on Blu-ray, and it's also on Hulu. So go and find that movie and check it out. Number 6 is a film that's really out of my wheelhouse. I normally don't, follow these types of films, but this one just grabbed me. It's called The Farewell. It's a dramedy, I guess is what you would call it. It's basically the story of a family who the matriarch of the family is going to pass away soon, and the family manufactures a wedding that's not real. They manufacture the wedding so that everyone can get together and visit this person without revealing to them that they, in fact, are passing away. This is, it's funny, it's dramatic, and it's so socially relevant. It shares something in a culture that you may or may not be familiar with. So you learn something coming from it. This movie introduced me to Awkwafina. I know she's done other comedy things before, but I had never seen her. I never had watched any of her stuff, but Awkwafina is amazing in this film. Again, funny, moving, and beautifully told. So this next film was higher on a lot of people's lists, and the fact that it's at number 5 on my list doesn't say anything about what I feel about the quality of the film. It's stunning, and that's Parasite. A lot of people, this is my second foreign language film here. A lot of people get turned off by having to read subtitles, but I'm telling you, this is a film that requires your attention. This film, you would think the political and social commentary that's in this film would not be effective for us because it really is a very different culture, but the class system is the same across cultures. This film follows two families, one wealthy, one not so wealthy, and their interactions. I don't want to get too spoilery, but it is their interactions and how they're connected, and some of the best parts of it are how the two families view the same thing in different ways. The rich family at one point is looking out the window talking about how beautiful the rain is. Meanwhile, the lower class of the poorer family is watching the rainwaters flood their home. And that says so much about the social commentary of it. There's no bad guys in this film. There's no complete good guys in this film. This is like real complicated characters. It's funny, it's a little bit gory, it's suspenseful, it's dramatic. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. It is up for Best Picture, and while I don't think it's going to win Best Picture in the Oscars, if it does, I'll be very happy because it's deserving of the award. Number 4 is my third foreign language film in a row. Again, read the subtitles. It is so worth it. We're talking about Climax. Gaspar Noé is one of my favorite directors, and he does not disappoint. It's a simple film with a very effective story. I'm not going to get too spoilery because I need you to watch this film. Basically, this story follows a dance troupe that have had a very successful show, and they're celebrating their show. Big party. The camera just sort of in the beginning floats from conversation to conversation and lets you meet the characters through their interactions with each other. And it just it's kind of like Wonders the Party, the way that you would if you were there. Well, everyone's drinking from a giant vat basically of sangria. Well, that vat of sangria has been spiked with a crap ton of LSD. The film changes once the LSD starts to react with partygoers. It gets dark, it gets scary, it gets disturbing. This is the only film that I have ever seen in the theater, ever, in my entire life, that made me kind of dry heave for a second. And it's not a gory scene, it's nothing like that. It's just the impact of the cinematography, because you want to talk about 1917 being a one-shot film. This is not a one-shot film, but there are some very, very, very long single shots that float around, and you start to feel that in your stomach. It really, really works. There's not much else to say except the cinematography is beautiful, colors are beautiful, acting is phenomenal, and it's a super unique story. So you've got to see it. Climax. It's on Blu-ray now. Okay, number three. Number three may be the most challenging overall film to watch out of my list. It is The Nightingale. It comes from the director of The Babadook. Babadook was a good film. It was a good psychological drama. It was sold to me as a horror. It's not. It's not scary at all. But it was a good psychological drama. This follow-up, though, while not a horror film in the traditional sense, it's not. It is horrific, though. It is a revenge film. Basically, it is set during war in the... I just don't know. It's... Anyway, basically, I just don't want to get too spoilery. So a woman is traumatized. Some very terrible things are done to her. And she seeks out the soldiers. This is a period piece. She seeks out the soldiers who did the terrible deeds to her with the help of an Aboriginal local. Because she's an Irish woman who is imprisoned, basically. So the two of them head out into the outback, essentially, and find the soldiers that did what they did to her. Now, I'm not going to get spoilery because you just need to experience this film. I will say there's about, in total, probably 10 minutes, maybe a little more, that are some of the hardest film I have ever had to watch. So get ready. Settle in. It's a great character study, beautifully shot, beautifully acted. There is a song that's in the trailer that is sung. You don't understand the importance and impact of that song until you watch the entire movie. The last beat of this movie is my favorite final beat of any movie in this period, this year. It's stunning. If you like revenge films, this is one of the best revenge films ever made. The Nightingale. See it. It is a masterwork. Okay, my number 2 film is, to my knowledge, you can only find this on Shudder right now. You might find it streaming in some other ways, but that's the one that I'm aware of. I think Shudder actually has the exclusive. So if you don't have access to Shudder, take the free month, sign up, and at least watch this movie. It's called One Cut of the Dead, and it's a horror film, but not a horror film like you've ever seen before. The trailer even tells you, stop watching this trailer and just watch the movie, because there's no way to not spoil this film there's no way to talk about it without spoiling it. It's gory, it's hilarious, it says so much about film as an industry. It's a zombie film, okay? It's a zombie movie. Just get the movie, watch it, and get ready for the wildest ride of the year. I mean, I know this is not telling you that much about the film, but I refuse to do it because it's so special. It's so different. I saw this, I was lucky enough to see this in the theater and had no clue what I was going into, so I want you to go in the same way. One Cut of the Dead. It's on Shudder. Take the free month. I mean, the Shudder is only $4 a month to start with, and it's a great curated horror experience. But take the free month and watch that film. Okay, we're down to it. My number 1 film of 2019. And this is a crazy choice because a lot of other people didn't make this choice. It didn't even make a lot of people's lists for some reason. But that film is Avengers Endgame. Now, I know it's a big popcorn film. Now it's a big Disney film, whatever. But here's the thing. In your lifetime, if you're a cinemaphile and a filmmaker yourself, or a true student of film, Avengers Endgame did something so impactful and so important to the cinematic experience. We will never see another film as impactful as this one in our lifetime. So, I mean, I would compare this to the invention of color, to the invention of sound in cinema. This film is the culmination of 22 other films all interconnected in one giant story. This has never been done in cinematic history, and it will change the way films are made from now forever. It changes them forever. So not only is it a wild, fun ride, not only is it well acted and funny and exciting and emotional and dramatic, but it changed film forever. Now, opinions may vary on whether it changed it in a good way or a bad way. That's up to you to decide. But it had to be my number one film simply because of the impact it had on cinema. And not to mention the fact that it's a comic book movie, so people had to die. Characters had to die. But it's a comic book movie. It's a franchise film. It's an IP. So those characters, to some degree, had to come back. So they had to come up with a way to actually have their deaths matter even though they're coming back. And they did. This story took something else from all of the characters that I hope continues to matter throughout the frame. My cat's coming into the shot here. Look. There you go. This cat. I'm in my PJs here. So it's a special film and a special time for film fans, and a special time for comic book geeks like me. But even outside of my fandom, it is the most important film to hit cinema this year, so it had to be my number one. Now that's my reasoning. What were your top 10 films of 2019? I'd love to discuss and hear from you what you thought, that kind of thing. If you disagree with me, that's fine too. Let's talk about it in the comments. I would love to chat with you about physical media and film. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you'll see all the things I've got coming up once my foot is all healed up, and we've got a ton of Blu-rays and Steelbooks coming. Let's talk about physical media. Hit me on OTS Movie Night on Instagram. I post pictures of things I pick up that I don't always cover on the show. And let me know what you're picking up, and share some pictures with me about what you're buying physical media-wise. Until then, pull something cool off the shelf, share it with a friend, and remind them why physical media is the best way to experience movies and TV. I'll see you on the next one.